10 years since it was first launched, Tata has given the Tiago its biggest update yet, bringing with it a more mature exterior, a thoroughly revised and modern interior, a lot of new features, and a big improvement in safety. Now, the segment that it competes in isn't what it used to be, but for a lot of first-time buyers, it's cars like this that give them that first sense of personal mobility. So does the Tiago have what it takes to pull buyers away who are increasingly gravitating towards small SUVs? This is the petrol manual, this is the iCNG with the AMT, and we are in Bengaluru to drive both of them and tell you what they are like. Now, as you can tell from the front, this is a pretty substantial facelift, and it's not just the soft parts that have changed, the metalwork has changed as well. So we have a new bonnet, we have a new front fender, and we have a new tailgate at the back that we'll take a look at later. Up front, it looks a lot more mature than before, very much inspired by the Altros, and looks actually quite European. It has nice new LED headlights with a nice black trim around them, which flows nicely into this blanked off black grille up front. This used to be a grille, but now it's completely blanked off. Lower down, we have a fresh new bumper, nice clean sharp lines, and a big air dam down there with some black treatment. Some vertical vent-like treatment here on the side, they are not functional. And there are some cube-shaped LED fog lamps. In profile, you'll spot new wheel arch cladding, perhaps to make it look a little tougher and help it protect the body from scratches and stuff like that. But I'm not a big fan of the way it looks. If you look closely, you'll spot a speckled pattern on them, and that is because they are made up in some percentage of recycled plastic. The wheels are also new. They are the same size as before, 15 inches, but they have a new geometric sort of pattern to them. Look quite cool. Overall though, from here onwards, the silhouette is largely the same. The only real difference, there are new door handles with a bit of chrome on them. And at the back, we've got a nice neat new bumper with the reverse lamp moved right at the bottom there. There is the new tailgate we spoke of with a neat Tiago lettering on it, and new LED tail lamps with a connected bar section here in the middle. But however, it doesn't light up. It is just a reflector unit, so I don't quite see the point of it. In terms of boot space, the Tiago gets 242 liters in the boot, which is decent, but not the highest. It will quite comfortably take 2 cabin bags, but if you try and lay them down this way, it's not going to fit. And on the CNG, Tata does not quote a boot volume figure, but as you can see, a large portion of it is taken up by the dual tanks. It still has a decently usable boot. It will take 1 hard bag this way, but as you can tell, there's no real space for a second bag, so you'll have to fill that space with a soft bag of some kind. The interior is the biggest upgrade on the last car. Every surface, every panel has been revised and is all new, and it looks very premium as such. It takes a lot of inspiration from their bigger cars like the Sierra. Like for example, we have this fabric trim on the dashboard. Looks very upmarket. Also the door cards, they have those floating door handles like they do on the Sierra. Quite handy and quite nice touches here inside, which make it feel like a car from a segment above. In terms of tech, we've got a new 10.25-inch infotainment screen. It is the same size as before, but it has been heavily updated, so it is very snappy, very quick to use. And it also now gets a 360-degree camera. The camera is pretty high resolution, particularly for this segment, and is very snappy to respond. It also has a blind spot monitor, so when you indicate, it shows you the display of your blind spot on this central screen. Another thing worth mentioning, the instrument cluster is now in a freestanding housing, so it no longer has the binnacle. Again, it looks very nice and premium. However, it makes it look like as though it might be a TFT screen. In fact, it's just a simple digital instrument cluster. Not a bad thing, very easy to see, very easy to read. Everything is well laid out and logically laid out. However, one thing worth pointing out, at my driving position, this right hand corner of the screen is sort of obscured by the steering wheel. Another thing I'd like to mention, of course, on some of the lower trims, you do not get a 10.25-inch display. Instead, the pure trim, for example, comes with no display whatsoever. But the digital instrument cluster has a Bluetooth module within. So you can connect your phone to the car using that module, and you can play your music through the speakers, which will be retained. and you can figure out some sort of mounting device here for your phone, so that can work as your display for your maps and things.
Tata calls this the bring your own device feature, and it negates the need for an aftermarket infotainment screen.
Now lower down on the dashboard we do have automatic climate control, but they have retained physical knobs, which is always great to see. They have resisted the urge of giving it those haptic controls that we see on the Nexon, on the Sierra cars like that. Lower down, the center console is all new and there are two slots for your phone. The right hand one is a wireless charger. This guy is of course the manual, so we have the shifter right here. There are two cup holders here and a new armrest, again with a handy cubby inside. The seats have also been revised, so there's better thigh support. The bolstering on the back is also better, and I have spent a good amount of time in the car and I can tell you that the seats are very comfortable. The steering wheel in front of me has also changed. They've gotten rid of that gloss black panel with the lit up Tata logo. It's now a simple plain matte black finish, which again does not attract fingerprints like the last one does. It's nice and easy to hold, nice and comfortable driving position. Overall, a very pleasant place to spend time. Now, since the Tiago does sit on the same platform as before, it's not like we've liberated extra room on the inside, but overall in the back seat it's not too bad. This seat is set to my driving position. I am 5'8" for reference, and this is how much knee room I have. Headroom again is pretty decent. They have also reworked the bottom part of the seat, so there is a little bit better thigh support. However, the headrests are still not the adjustable kind, so it really doesn't do much for someone of my height. Two new additions, we've got rear AC vents, which is very handy in our climate, and a 65-watt Type-C charger down there.
In addition to everything I've mentioned, the Tiago carries over features like a height adjustable driver's seat, wireless Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, and cruise control. The AMT also now gets paddle shifters. Safety has improved too, with 6 airbags now standard, up from the previous 2. You also get ABS, EBD and ESP, along with 3 pointed seat belts and seatbelt reminders for all occupants, though rear seat load sensors are still missing. Now let's take it for a spin.
Starting off with driving the pure petrol Tiago, and it's still powered by that 1.2 litre 3-cylinder engine. It's quite a familiar unit now. Makes 86 horsepower and 113 Nm of torque, which are respectable figures for this category. And while performance is adequate, it isn't exactly zippy. But on the plus side, it is very tractable. It is happy to chug along in a higher gear at low RPM and still pull away smoothly and cleanly. That's a result of the torque that it has. Highway performance is also decent for a car in this class. It is happy to cruise along at triple-digit speeds, and if you do need to make an overtake, you can make a quick downshift, and there is a bit more performance to give for that quick overtake. One point against it though is refinement. At idle, there is a bit of vibration that comes through the seat and the gear lever, and as you pick up speed, although the vibrations do go away, the engine note itself is not very refined, so it does sound a little coarse, a little strained when you push it. And also at low speeds, the engine noise never totally disappears, so it's always audible in the background. This particular car we are driving is mated to the 5-speed manual. We are driving the CNG AMT later in the same video, so do stick around. As far as this manual goes, it's quite a light and easy to use gearbox. Shifts are nice and light, clutch is nice and light. The shifts are a little rubbery, but for most people this would be perfectly fine. It isn't as slick as, let's say, a Maruti gearbox, but as far as things go, it is quite a nice gearbox to use. The clutch is also light enough to be very usable inside the city.
Now let's see how the CNG AMT fares.
And we're now driving the Tiago CNG. One of the highlights of this system still remains that you can start it immediately in CNG. You don't need to start it in petrol and then move to CNG, which is always good. It uses the same 1.2 litre 3-cylinder engine as the petrol version, but when running on CNG, it makes 75 horsepower and 96.5 Newton meters of torque. And accordingly, performance does feel a little more sedate, but in regular commuting, an average driver will be hard pressed to tell the difference between the CNG and the petrol. Responses are quite decent. It'll happily keep up with traffic. It is quick enough to make up gaps in traffic, and it does so quite seamlessly. It works well overall, but out on the highway you do feel the difference between petrol and CNG. Push it quickly for an overtake and you do feel like you need a little bit more throttle input than you would in the petrol. Now the CNG can be mated to either the 5-speed manual or the AMT. We have the AMT with us, and in a change they've gotten rid of the gear stick and given it a rotary selector. The rotary selector is actually quite smooth to use. It very rarely does it hesitate, which is always a great thing. As long as you're firm on the brake pedal, it'll make a switch between reverse and drive quite quickly. It also now gets paddle shifters, which is a first for a CNG AMT with paddle shifters. And as such, the paddle shifters work reasonably alright, but there is a fair bit of delay. Request for a change, wait for nearly half, maybe even a second for that change to be delivered. But it is a handy feature to have. In case you're coming up to a car for an overtake, click down a gear, prepare yourself, look for the gap, and then go for the overtake. As far as AMTs go, it is reasonably smooth. There is a pause in between shifts and you get that typical head nod, but that's pretty much par for the course for AMTs. It's not the smoothest AMT out there, but it's also not the worst. One thing worth noting, the creep function in traffic is a little bit aggressive, so you feel a little bit of a juddering when the car starts to creep forward initially, but that smooths itself out as you pick up some speed. Overall, in terms of general usability, the CNG is pretty much on par with the petrol, apart from the slight difference in performance on the highway.
The CNG AMT remains a compelling option, combining low running costs and the convenience of an automatic. In a quick range test over a mixed city and highway cycle at an average speed of 47.8 kph, the Tiago returned an impressive 33.33 km per kg, indicating a range of about 320 km from its twin CNG tanks. While Tata hasn't revealed the official fuel efficiency figures for the updated Tiago, our experience with the outgoing model suggests owners can expect over 13 kpl in the city and around 17 kpl on the highway from the petrol manual.
And then there's the ride quality, which has always remained a Tiago hallmark, and that hasn't changed at all. It is still a very nice riding car. It soaks up the bumps really well. It doesn't transmit too much harshness into the cabin, and for a car of this class, it is really quite excellent. It does feel like actually a car from a class above perhaps. High-speed stability is also excellent for a car of this sort. Even at triple-digit speeds, it stays planted, it stays stable. The steering also helps, which does weigh up a little bit, so it's quite easy to place the car exactly where you want through a high-speed bend. It also doesn't get too affected by crosswinds or anything of that sort. It stays nice and true. Braking too is very, very good for a car of this sort. Overall grip levels are also quite good for a car of this class. It feels quite confident through the bends, and it can be quite fun to toss around. But really the car is meant as a city car, and there is where it excels. There's a really nice tight turning circle. It is very small and compact, very easy to maneuver in tight gaps, and that is really where the Tiago shines.
Now priced from 4.69 lakh to 8.54 lakh, the Tiago is slightly more expensive than before, but the extra outlay gets you a significantly improved car. Its core strengths remain intact, but the styling, the interior and the features add a level of desirability that is rare in this segment. There is still room for improvement in some areas, but overall the Tiago is a very well-rounded and compelling package.